Hello, my name is Brokke Erickson. I'm the director of the art program here at the college, and I'm an associate professor of art. And I'm thrilled to welcome you to our tour of some of the wonderful pieces that grace our hallways here in Tower Hall. I'm joined by
Heidi Johnson. I'm a librarian here at the college, as well as the college archivist. And so our goal here for this tour is just to help you experience the beautiful art that's on our walls that serve both as an educational opportunity as well as an inspiration to everyone who comes here to our beautiful college. This art spans from the very early days of the college, which officially started in 1912, all the way up to the present. So we begin here with one of the pieces that actually tells the story of our Benedictine values and our Benedictine heritage and tradition. This is officially named The Last Meeting of St. Scholastica and St. Benedict. It was painted by Louis Gady out of St. Louis, Missouri, and was installed here when Tower Hall was completed in 1928. If you look at the people, it actually tells quite an interesting story. St. Benedict is the one who is standing, and his twin sister, St. Scholastica, is the one that is here. And she knew this would be their last meeting. He did not. At the time, she was sick and knew that this would be the last time that they would be together. Night had fallen, and St. Benedict, her brother, said, I have to go home. I have to go home to my monastery and be with my monks, and she begged him to stay. Eventually, she was not able to convince him to stay, so she prayed to God, and a storm came up. So you can see that storm represented by the lightning bolt there. A storm came up which prevented St. Benedict from going home that night, so they were able to be together longer. The next morning, he made his way back to his monastery, and as he was walking back, he saw a dove in the sky and then recognized and realized why she wanted him to stay so badly, because she had passed, and the dove in the sky was representing her spirit. So this is how we can learn from this story. This is also fun because our mascot, our current mascot for the college, is named Storm, and he is named Storm both for the storm that occurred at the last meeting of St. Benedict and St. Scholastica, as well as for the storms that we see on our beautiful Lake Superior.
Stylistically, we can tie it to Art Nouveau, which was a movement out of France in around 1914. And we can guess that the artist might have been inspired by that style in terms of the composition, the flatness of form, this proscenium stage-like setup that tells us and gives us this narrative, and in addition, how the paint itself was handled. And so if you get up close to this piece, you can really see the textural surface that this piece was created on. There's a strong sense of the outline, and some of the materiality of the physical surface is coming through. And so there's almost a drawing-like quality to it as much as it is a painting.
So part of our Benedictine tradition here, which is really starting even to be seen in this painting, is St. Benedict wrote the Rule of Benedict, and those rules are what the sisters here at our college and at their monastery, St. Scholastica Monastery, live by. It also impacts the values that we have here at our college. And the values that we lift up from the Rule of Benedict are hospitality, stewardship, respect, community, and love of learning. So also through the art that we're going to show you here on this tour, you will see some of those values we really want to lift up. Those values of love of learning, the values of how they are offering us hospitality, and also how through this art and through the art that has been on these walls throughout many generations of students, how they help us build that community. So we're excited to have you come along on this tour. This statue of Our Lady was actually given to the college by students back in 1930. Those students were part of a society called the Sodality of the Blessed Virgin Mary, and we even have some historical photos of them having their meetings right here at the base of this statue. This statue of Mary is made with Carrara marble, which is the same vein of marble in Italy that Michelangelo used, and actually even goes back 2,000 years ago to Roman times. There's lots of symbolism here for Mary. If you look at the base, you'll see that we have a crescent, which is one of her symbols, the crescent moon, and we even have the fine detail of a serpent with an apple in its mouth, hearkening back to one of the earliest Old Testament stories of Adam and Eve in the the Garden of Eden. The students felt so badly that originally this statue was only on a table. So 2 years later, they also donated the beautiful Verde marble base that she sits on. One of our traditions that was early on here at the college was during May, which is the month for Mary, and they would crown this statue with flowers and have mother-daughter teas where the students would invite their mothers to have a celebration together honoring mothers and of course honoring Mary, the mother of Jesus.
This piece, it's a triptych that is located on the 4th floor of Tower Hall. It was co-collaborated and created by the School of Arts and Letters, really designed and contextualized by Heidi Blunt, who is a visual artist working in the area and also teaches at the college, and myself. And we asked our colleagues in SAL, School of Arts and Letters, to share with us text and images that related specifically to their scholarship in field. And so throughout this image, you see text that's going in lots of different directions. You see excerpts from music. You see layers and layers of context and knowledge, which really is related specifically to the school itself. This was commissioned by the Dean of the School of Arts and Letters in 2019 and was worked on throughout the spring of 2019 collaboratively throughout with colleagues all at once. You'll see that there's an overlay and underlay of color. There's a lot of depth that is moving in and out of space. And it is in part because conceptually, we were interested in thinking about knowledge and learning and comprehension being really interdisciplinary and feeding one another. So it has both a surface treatment to it and a depth, just like we would hope our understanding and comprehension of the world has. The text is laid on with a method called Acrylic Transfer, which takes photocopies, and then you take acrylic paint and put it over the top of it. And essentially, the toner from the printer itself, and in this case it was a photocopier, adheres to the acrylic paint. And then you remove the paper off the back and then apply that directly onto the surface. And so that's why there are this veil-like quality to them, because the words themselves or the paper themselves are somewhat transparent. So it's meant to be as great as things are and as small as things are, because really that's what knowledge is, right? It's really connected to the smallest parts of us and the largest parts of us within humanity. The medium itself has this acrylic base, and then layered over the top is an oil base that you can see really floats on top. Almost there's this watery quality to it. Of course, thinking about the fact that we ourselves as humans are made of water and are surrounded by this incredible lake in terms of geolocation on our Duluth campus. And also fragments of so many of our colleagues within the School of Arts and Letters that it's meant to feel both grounded in time when it was made in 2019, and also something that can extend into the future for future colleagues and students. This piece is a piece that's painted on plein air, painted in location in Louisburg, Ireland. It's painted by an artist named Desmond Downs, who lives there, at least part-time, and is emblematic of our long history of our study in Ireland in the spring program. Within this painting itself, you'll see a range of colors and modulations of almost block-like painting. So the artists themselves have a very interesting style and approach. This artist has also a really interesting background. He graduated from the Waterford School of Art and Design in Ireland, and he also happens to have a pretty extensive background in animation. He does scene painting for all kinds of companies all over the world, including DreamWorks, and then also lives part-time in Louisburg, where he makes incredible paintings on plein air. So this is an example. And you'll see within the painting itself, there's little cottages. Those cottages are the cottages our Ireland in the Spring program stays at. And then the students every morning will walk into town, into this small village, to be able to take classes And so it is a vignette of something that happens every year for our students, and also is something that I'm sure the folks that live in Louisburg are also used to seeing.
So a little history on the Ireland in the Spring program. In 1979, Sister Mary Odile Cahoon and Dr. Catherine McPherson were looking for basically a little village that would have some cottages they could rent every spring to send over a group of students as well as faculty who would teach them there. And so the very first group of students went in the spring of 1980. And so far, there have been 787 students who have gone on the Ireland in the Spring program. It is really a wonderful opportunity for students to both live in Ireland as well as be educated there by our faculty, but also just to really relax. I think one of the main things that students have said about their time in Ireland is that living in these cottages, what I love the most about this painting is that the cottages are known for their colorful doors, and so those doors are even represented there. But just being able to live in one of those cottages, take walks, see sheep every single day, and enjoy the beautiful surroundings is one of the best things about being able to study in the spring in Ireland in Louisburg. And I think that's reflected well in this painting. This piece is by Carl Gabboy, and it is entitled A View of the Prairie. And Carl Gabboy has a very long and successful story here, both at the College of St. Scholastica as well as in the local area. He actually grew up in Ely, Minnesota, so just north of here, the youngest of 8 children to a Finnish mother and an Ojibwe father. He attended UMD, graduating in 1965. He went on to some more education, receiving a master's degree in interdisciplinary Indian studies at the University of Montana. And then he went on to teach first at a junior and senior high school. He started teaching at the college level in 1975 and then came to the college here in 1987 to be an instructor in our Indian Studies department. He actually continued teaching here, officially retiring in 2000, but continues to be active in the area, both with educating as well as with his art.
This beautiful painting is the second painting we're going to look at by Carl Gabboy, who we were so fortunate to have as a professor here at the college. His work really stands at the intersection between his own identity and the identity of folks within this region. He's interested in capturing Ojibwe culture from a personal perspective and also from a historical perspective, ranging from 1850 to about 1950. So within his work, and you can see this work is a sizable piece, quite large, stretched on canvas, he really builds in a historical context for the land that we are standing on today, with bright, beautiful colors and intersections between nature and the people themselves. This painting is done by Erin Diver, an alumna of the college who was both a major in the art program as well as in psychology. This piece is from her senior capstone, which is an exhibition that students put together within their senior year. It was also included in the annual student exhibition. And at our annual student exhibition, the deans of the college get together and decide on one of the pieces becoming part of the college's permanent collection as part of the Dean's Purchase Award. Erin's work at large is at the intersection between surrealism and also metaphysical art. Her work tends to lie on a line between something that's really tangible, and in this case, for folks that have been to Duluth and or are familiar with Duluth, this is a depiction of a place in Duluth, in part, of the antenna farm, which is up on the hillside within Duluth. She's taken that and interpreted it in some ways through a dream, which we can see in the way she's applied the paint. There's an intense sense of reality in some places, and also a drifting into a dreamlight space with the clouds themselves almost consuming the antennas. And so there is a both present quality to it and also of something of a once lived dream. Our next work that we're going to be looking at that's featured in Tower Hall at the College of St. Scholastica are these 3 pieces created by artist Leah Yellowbird. Originally trained as an artist utilizing beads, you can see very clearly the ways that she has taken stylistically those use of the small points of beads and applied it to the style of painting. She has very strong First Nations Algonquin, Métis, and Anishinaabe heritage, which you can see directly reflected within this work. Her work is exhibited broadly throughout the country, and we are very fortunate to have her work here on campus.
One of the artists who has many pieces here in Tower Hall is Sister Constantina Cancone. She was a Hungarian artist born there in 1908 and was actually an art teacher there in Hungary. During World War II, she was able to go on a trip abroad to study art in Italy, and that is when Hungary had the Iron Curtain fall down, and she actually was exiled from Hungary, not able to return home. In 1950, she came to America and was accepted by the Sisters of St. Scholastica Monastery here to stay with them. And she actually stayed here in exile then during the Cold War. She taught for 20 years here at the college, and she also, after teaching here for 20 years, became an artist in residence. Throughout this whole time, she created many pieces that she donated both to the sisters that are in their monastery, as well as pieces that are here at the college. She worked in many different mediums, and so we will see lots of those mediums throughout our tour here. That includes these that are here in this stairwell that are very interesting. There's 3 here, and they are all made in one is made in 1981 called Angels of Peace, and one is called Hungarian Madonna, which was made in 1990. And then there's another one that is named Homeward. And so these 3 are examples of a very special technique that we will see again later. She also worked a lot in copper, so there are some pieces here that are very large that she worked in copper, as well as some of the art pieces. Finally, when the Iron Curtain fell and she was able to go home, she went home in 1994. She went on to organize an exhibition in her hometown, Scholastica, in 1995, and then she died in 1998 in her hometown of Hungary. According to Sister Ann Edwards Scanlon, who gave a tour of hers, she talks a lot about the emphasis on the eyes and how that's typical of Byzantine artists. And so one of the most interesting parts of Sister Constantina's art is to really look at the eyes and what the eyes are saying to us in her pieces.
Welcome to the Mitchell Foyer. I'm here with another one of Sister Constantina's pieces. This piece has the appearance of being created in metal, but is an example of Sister Constantina's use of multiple mediums to arrive at similar ends as far as her intent and goals as an artist. This piece has a relief-like quality to it. It's 3-dimensional, and it is built up actually of paint, despite the fact that it feels like it is made of metal. She has achieved this end by using either acrylic or oil paint to really develop the body of the paint in this impasto manner, and then has taken gold leaf to brush the foil over the top of it, so it has this metallic quality. In addition, she has chosen to take paint on top of that gold leaf to really push and develop the 3-dimensional nature of this piece of art. Incredibly beautiful and moving, really tied to her expressionistic approach to artwork. So we're here seeing another piece by Sister Constantina. This piece was done in 1955 and is a depiction of the crucifixion. It is interesting on multiple fronts in terms of its artistic rendering. It is really focused using the primary colors. So you'll see blue and red and this halo or ring of yellow surrounding the body and then reflected in the body. And we'll see also the replication of this oval shape that occurs both in the palms of Jesus's hands, where we see the nails being replicated, the wound on his body, and then the eye above, which really emphasizes this cruciform, which is obviously developed even further by the fact that the canvas itself, or the panels themselves, are shaped within that form. This painting we could put within the realm of Expressionism. Expressionism was really an art movement that was started primarily in Germany in Austria in 1905, but certainly we can say that Sister Constantina might have been influenced by Expressionism with the idea that the emotional tenor of the piece is as significant as anything we're visually seeing within the work.
So this piece is an example of some of the copper sculptures that Sister Constantina did. This one is an early one done in 1953, and it's entitled Lamb of God. This also is another example of how she incorporated eyes into her pieces. She took a lot of inspiration from the Bible, namely the prophets, as well as the book of Revelations. She was very influenced by the end times. And in this case, she is looking at the Lamb of God with the 7 eyes that is mentioned in the Revelations. You'll also see other symbolism. For example, these are the symbols for the 4 gospel writers, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. An interesting story is she was a very little person, very small. And so to do something this big on this scale, but also this labor-intensive, is really quite remarkable. A tour Sister Ann Edward Scanlon gave in the mid-1980s that we have recorded in the archives explains Sister Constantina's process with making these copper sculptures. It includes laying this sheet of copper on a bed of sand and then with a wooden hammer from the reverse side, pounding out all of the details. Because of the labor intensity that goes into making these kinds of works of art, Sister Constantina also allowed some of her sisters from St. Scholastica Monastery to help her detail some of the areas that weren't quite as technical. So really, again, a beautiful example of community.
The next piece we're going to be talking about is actually one of 2 pieces that were gifted to the college in 2011. These are created by calligrapher Deha Fejan Alsha Hayer and was presented to at that time President Larry Goodwin as a gift. This script represents the most elaborate of the 6 schools of Arabic calligraphy, oftentimes used to decorate mosques and churches. It says the College of St. Scholastica. This artist apprenticed himself to 2 master artists while imprisoned at Abu Ghraib for resisting Saddam Hussein's regime in Iraq. During his 3 years at a refugee camp in Saudi Arabia, his vision as an artist came into full flowering as his work became a social voice for the camp. His work decorates the walls of mosques in Dearborn, Michigan, San Diego, and Los Angeles, and we were so fortunate to have him come here as a part of a series on Jewish, Christian, and Muslim sacred texts and scribal arts for the college's Auric Elpern Interreligious Forum in 2011. I was fortunate enough to have him come visit one of my classes where he talked about how he was inspired to become a calligrapher simply by seeing the beauty of the word milk written in calligraphic text, which I found to be so inspiring, as did my students. Something so simple and so powerful can inspire anyone to continue on their vocation and path. The Interreligious Forum itself foregrounds the beauty of Islamic art, architecture, language, and thought, and we are so fortunate to have his work here at the college. So here we are on the first floor of Tower Hall, in which we are taking a look at a mosaic piece done with over 4,000 tiles by Patricia Hagen, who is a faculty emeritus at the college. She was a professor in English here at the college, but is also an incredible artist who has made many artworks in many different mediums, as well as taught in several of our abroad programs. This piece, The Tree of Life, has a myriad of colors and forms. It has a beautiful range of contrast with the warm tones of the Tree of Life extending through the center, and using contrasting complementary colors, it's popped out by those rich blues and greens throughout. She has a quote that she had about making this piece. The piece itself was made in about 30 days and was installed in 2008. She said, "I am fascinated by the way in which bits and pieces, not much to look at themselves, can come together to create patterns of interest, of beauty, of dissonance. Individual elements are transformed, new relationships are created, while the grout lines created their own rhythms, underscoring separateness, yet holding the whole together." Incredibly beautiful work by Patricia Hagen.
This sculpture, which was installed in the Mitchell Auditorium when it was completed in 1993, was created by Ursula Brodolph-Craig, a German sculptor who settled in Salt Lake City when she came to the United States in the mid-1960s. She studied sculpting as a young adult. It was donated by Dr. Oanne Fredstrom, alumna and class of 1975. They became acquainted with each other when they both served on the Nouveau Chamber Music Series Board of Directors in Salt Lake City. Ursula visited the college to see the auditorium and get to know our community when she was designing the sculpture. The abstract work depicts music through the use of a tablature, musical notes and staves. And so you can see the 5 lines that are part of a music score, and then these suspended circles represent the musical notes. According to Fredstrom, she hopes the sculpture, quote, "can serve as an inspiration to others to give back to St. Scholastica what they got out of it." This sculpture was dedicated to longtime music faculty, Sister Monica Laughlin.
The piece we're looking at here is one of 2 pieces that we have on our college campus, done in collaboration with Tecumseh Aiken, a Twin Cities artist who is known for his public art and his rhythm paintings. He has collaborated and created over 300 works of public art throughout the country, and we were lucky enough to have him come here in 2011 to work with our college students as well as folks from the community. So we had kindergartners all the way through college students, and our college community at large worked on it, including, at the time, President Larry Goodwin. This piece is made up of a tapestry of folks' individual mark making, and then Tecumseh took his own mark making and layered it over, celebrating our differences and our similarities as a community. So this piece is called Reliquary, and it was done by a collaboration of students that graduated in 2019. Erin Diver, Megan Finnegan, Gemma Provence, Tricia Seafeld, and Abby Perry. Together, they chose to create a piece that exemplified their time at the college and also their thoughts about leaving and moving beyond this institution, actually physically leaving their mark through the act of this painting. The title Reliquare is a word in Latin that means to abandon or to leave, and they made this the spring of their senior year here together. Within the piece, you will see elements of all of their stylistic impressions that happens within their own individual work. All 5 of the students are painters. So you'll see a sunrise or a sunset happening over the trees. You will see the pixelated forms on the left-hand side and through the right-hand side, referring to the fact that despite the fact that this is a painting, an oil painting, which is an old form of art making, it is also connected to the time that we're in now as being in the digital age. In addition, you will see on the side kind of being built into these geoforms throughout a face that is resting. And many of them spoke about how they wanted this piece to feel both as a leaving and also a chance for rest. After their intense undergraduate studies, they certainly needed some rest. We are very fortunate to have this emblem of work from these students, and they will continue to be a part of the fabric here at the College of St. Scholastica.
One of the sisters here at the college who has had a large impact on the art that we are able to enjoy is Sister Mary Charles Magoo. She was a sister of St. Scholastica Monastery, born in Cloquet in 1925, and a graduate of the Cathedral School, as well as of the College of St. Scholastica. She received a Master's of Education from the University of Minnesota, as well as an MFA, a Master's of Fine Arts from Notre Dame. She initially taught elementary school, for 10 years, and then she headed the art department at the college from 1959 until 1967. She is also really well known for starting the barn program for children in the carriage house at McCabe Mansion in 1968, and she ran that for 18 years. Her art consists of many mediums, including woodcuts, carvings, ceramics, sculptures, watercolors, and she's also very well known for writing icons as well as illuminating the Rule of Saint Benedict. This example that we have here are the original peace doors that Sister Mary Charles hand-carved into 2 solid-core African mahogany doors in bas relief. It is an olive tree, and it also has 2 doves, and these are known affectionately as our peace doors. And you can see how at the bottom she engraved "Peace to all who enter here." These were originally part of the outside doors that would enter into the cloister walk between Tower Hall and Our Lady Queen of Peace Chapel. In 2006, they were replaced by laser engraved doors, so that's what you see there now. And then these doors were moved down here in the Alpha Chi entrance in order to preserve them. So again, these will be able to be saved and admired and appreciated by generations of people to come.
Welcome to the final piece we are going to be looking at for our tour of art in Tower Hall. This piece was created by our art student, Megan Finnegan, as part of her senior project. She decided to make a piece that she felt exemplified our Scholastica community. This mural is a mural that is rotated out every 10 years, and so it is ephemeral in some ways, but we're fortunate enough to have it currently in its state for another 8 years, as it was painted in 2020. She has chosen to exemplify the Benedictine cross, speak to the peace that the sisters bring, and you can see that laced on top of the image itself are the bottom of birch trees, which really talk about the grounding of our institution at large.
So we hope you have enjoyed this tour of the College of St. Scholastica and its art. And we have this lasting message for you, and that is one of peace and one of our Benedictine values and our heritage. And we thank you so very much for your support.